Any man can be a father, but it takes someone special to be a dad. So when given the assignment of writing a commemorative speech, I did not have to ponder for very long on who I wanted to talk about. My father is by far my biggest influence in life. On the 28th of June, 1955, my father, Scott Leroy Judson, was born on the family farm in Sanders, Idaho. He is the oldest of 4 siblings, and at the age of 3, he started working in the garden. At the age of 6, he started milking cows. He worked for local farmers throughout the area until he was 18. When he turned 18, he started to work in the woods. And for over 40 years, my father was a strip sawyer. What that means is that before everyone is up in the morning, he's driving to a strip of logs, a strip of trees in northern Idaho or Washington, sometimes Montana. When he gets there, he puts on his backpack. In his backpack is felling wedges and files, extra chains, screwdriver, maybe a candy bar. And he's got 3 jugs. 1 jug of water, 1 jug of oil, and 1 jug of gas. And for the next 6 to 10 hours, he cuts down trees. Anywhere from between 250 to 400 trees a day for 40 years. The one wonderful thing about the timber industry is it's renewable. So as soon as they cut them down, migrant workers would come in the summer and replant the trees. My father had wonderful stories about working in the woods. From the time when he was leaning over a ledge looking at a mama cougar with 2 babies playing in the sunshine, to the ever adventurous, exciting experience of turning around when he saw movement out of the corner of his eye to see a bear poking its head out of the tree that he was currently trying to saw down. There were also scary times. He got hurt probably every other year, sometimes worse than others. This last time, he hurt his back. It required 2 surgeries, and it made it so he could never go back to work in the woods again. And at 64, he was too old to be working in the woods. It's a young man's game. But don't tell my dad I said that. My father gave me the greatest gift anyone could ever give. He always believed in me. He is loyal to a fault, and he has the most amazing work ethic of anyone I've ever met. My father started working for the Zimmerman Logging Company when he was 20 years old. He worked for the same company for 20 years until Bernal Zimmerman sold the company to a man named Darby. My dad then worked for Darby for the next 15 years. And then when Darby sold out to Ray Day Jr., that was where my dad finished up his career. So for the last 5 or 6 years or so, he worked for Ray Day. But basically, he had worked for the same outfit for the entire time. He married my mother when she was 15, and he was 22. They might have been a little bit pregnant if you do the math, but they've been married for 42 years. He is an outdoorsman. He loves to hunt. He loves to fish. He loves to go camping. Part of being a logger's kid is you knew that they went to logging camp in the summertime. So we would all pile into a Ford Escort, and we would go get to stay with Dad in the camper Monday through Friday the entire summer. Up in the backwoods of northern Idaho, it's some of the most beautiful country you've ever seen. Crystal clear lakes and rivers and great hiking trails and places you can ride your bikes. It was the most wonderful childhood. My father never not took us hunting with him, which I can only imagine now as a mother did not help his success. We were not quiet little kids, but we would go traipse around the woods with him, looking for deer and looking for elk, and giving my mom a little bit of a break as she was a stay-at-home mother every fall. And those are some of my fondest memories. When I was 9, I was able to take the hunter safety course in northern Idaho, and my father went to every class with me. When my little brother went, when he was 9, my dad also went to every single class. So my middle brother was never one for hunting, and he decided he was too good for that. But when he got out of the Marine Corps, he wanted to get a hunting license, and he still had to take the hunter safety course. So at 23, my father went to every single hunter safety class with my brother Adam also. It was quite funny. My father is an extremely supportive man. When I was 18 years old, and 3 months after graduating high school, I came home and told them I wanted to join the Army, and he has never been anything but supportive. He did not like the fact that his oldest child, his only girl, was leaving the nest for parts unknown. But he never once made me feel like I shouldn't go. He never once let me feel like I wouldn't have a soft landing if I decided I did not want to be in the Army anymore. He would call me while I was stationed in Korea to tell me silly blonde jokes that he had heard. He rode the Greyhound bus with my mother for 3 days from northern Idaho to upstate New York when my oldest son was born. My father taught me that you shouldn't judge someone by how they look. Because a logger in Idaho, most of the time he had chips in his beard and he was wearing cut-off raggedy jeans and white work boots and covered in bar oil. And he just walked out of the woods. He doesn't have any teeth. He has a huge beard and a big white guy afro. And once you get past that fairly imposing exterior, is one of the sweetest men that you will ever meet. My brother called him at 2 in the morning one night and said that they were stuck up on the mountain. Gave my dad very bad directions, and my dad looked for them for 2 hours. But he found them, and he rescued him, and then he took him to breakfast. I told him when I walked down the aisle with him that he had to have teeth. I didn't tell him they had to be in his mouth. So my father went and got dentures and then put them in his pocket and walked me down the aisle. And so he absolutely gave in to his daughter's demands, but he did it on his own terms. Scott Leroy Judson is my hero. He, while working in the woods in 2009 while I was in Afghanistan, hit a nail with his chainsaw, which made it bounce back. It ran into his leg, went through his chaps, went through his boot, and went into his leg. But he had already undercut about 30 trees. And that man, my father, felled those 30 trees before walking up the mountain to be medevaced to the hospital because it wouldn't be safe to leave them with the undercut and not felled. And he didn't want to have to try and explain it to his guys or his boss if anything happened. So, as you can see, that is why he is my hero. And he always will be. He's now Grandpa Gummer, who likes to sing karaoke and spoils his grandchildren. And I am honored to be his daughter. I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.